Welcome to USA Coins Craze, the place where ordinary coins turn into hidden treasure. If you want to discover rare pennies, valuable errors, and coins worth serious money, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because the next valuable coin could already be in your pocket. Now let's begin. Before you spend your next 50 pence coin, stop. Look at it. Really look at it, because the coin sitting quietly in your pocket right now might be part of history. To most people, these are just dates, but to collectors, they are turning points, the beginning of an era, the survival of heavy circulation, the portrait period that defined a generation, and the final year of the large 50 pence coin ever made. Most people spend these coins without thinking. They drop them in jars. They lose them in drawers. They clean them and destroy their originality. And they never realize they were holding a piece of monetary history in their hands. Tonight, we are breaking down these 4 coins in detail. Not hype, not fantasy, but real collector psychology, real survival rarity, real historical significance. By the end of this video, you won't just see a 50 pence coin, you'll see a timeline. You'll see a beginning, a middle, and an ending. And once you understand that, you will never look at spare change the same way again. Now let's start with the coin that began it all. 1969 was part of the UK's move toward decimalization. The country was preparing for one of the biggest currency transitions in its history. Old money systems were being replaced, new denominations were being introduced, and the 50 pence coin was revolutionary. It was not round, it was heptagonal, 7 sides, designed that way so machines could detect it properly, but still roll smoothly in vending systems. This wasn't just a coin, it was engineering, it was design innovation, it was monetary reform in metal form. When you hold a 1969 50p, you are holding the first chapter of that reform. On the reverse, you see Britannia, standing strong, shield in hand, trident firm, facing forward with authority. Britannia is not just decoration, she represents strength, stability, national identity. Look closely at her shield. Are the lines sharp? Are the details strong? Or are they flattened from decades of use? Now flip the coin. On the obverse, you see the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, the younger portrait. Hair detailed, crown defined, lettering bold. Collectors examine this portrait carefully. They look for crown jewel clarity, hair strand separation, letter spacing, rim thickness. Tiny details change everything. Size, weight, and presence. Now, here's something most people forget. The original 1969 50p is large, very large compared to modern 50p coins. It weighs approximately 13.5 grams. It has a diameter of about 30 millimeters. When you hold it, you feel that weight. It has presence. It feels like old-school coinage, solid, heavy, substantial. After 1997, the 50p became smaller and lighter, which means this large version is permanently part of history. No more are being made. Supply is fixed forever. Here's the dangerous part. Most 1969 coins were heavily circulated. Public transport, retail counters, market stalls. They were used daily for years, which means most are worn, most have edge damage, most have scratches. Most lost their fine details decades ago. So when a strong condition example appears, collectors notice, because survival in clean condition is rare. Let's be clear. A heavily worn 1969 50p is usually worth face value, but High-grade examples, brilliant uncirculated coins, sharp detail survivors can carry strong collector premiums, especially when certified, because collectors pay for condition rarity, not just age. And first-year coins always maintain long-term interest. Cleaning. People see dark toning and panic. They polish it, they rub it, they try to make it shine, and in seconds, they destroy collector appeal. Original surface is everything. Natural toning is respected. Micro scratches from cleaning are permanent. Professional graders see them instantly, and once originality is gone, serious collectors walk away. Collectors think differently. They don't chase hype. They study survival rates. They study mint years. They understand first year, last year, low survival in high grade. These are long-term strength factors. 1969 checks the first year box, and that alone keeps it relevant. Imagine this. Somewhere right now, a sharp 1969 50p is sitting in a jar, ignored, unnoticed, spent without thought. History does not always scream value. Sometimes it whispers, and only those who listen carefully understand its importance. I want you to pause this video later and check your 50p coins. Look for 1969. Examine the rim. Examine Britannia. Check the portrait detail. Ask yourself, is this just spare change, or is this a survivor? 1969 was the beginning, the birth of the 50-pence coin, the start of an era. And first chapters of history are never meaningless. But we're just getting started, because what happened in 1979 tells a completely different story, and that coin has its own survival secrets.
A year of change, a year of political shift, a year when the United Kingdom entered a new economic chapter. But while headlines focused on leadership and reform, millions of coins quietly entered circulation, and among them, the 1979 50-pence. To most people, it was just another coin, but to collectors, it represents something else: survival. Because 1979 coins did not live easy lives, they worked hard, and that matters. In 1979, the UK economy was under pressure. Inflation, industrial tension, major political transformation. Cash flow increased, public spending shifted, and coins moved fast. The Royal Mint was producing large volumes to meet demand. When coins move heavily through circulation, they suffer. Rims get knocked, edges flatten, surface details fade. Most 1979 50p coins were used daily. Bus fares, retail counters, markets. They passed through thousands of hands. And that heavy usage is why clean survivors are rare today. Take your 1979 50p. Hold it under light. Look at Britannia on the reverse. Focus on the trident lines, the shield texture, the folds in her robe. Are they sharp or smooth from wear? Now flip the coin. Study Queen Elizabeth II's portrait. Look at the crown jewels, the hair strands, the lettering around the rim. If the lettering touches the rim due to wear, that coin has seen heavy use. Collectors look for separation, clarity, definition, small details that most people ignore. Lead weight and presence. Like the 1969, the 1979 50p is large, about 30 millimeters in diameter, around 13.5 grams in weight. When you hold it, you feel substance. It doesn't feel like modern light coinage. It feels durable, industrial, old school. And because these large 50p coins were replaced in 1997, their production ended permanently. No more are being made. Supply is fixed. Let's be honest, most 1979 50p coins are face value today because condition is poor. But here's the key: high-grade survivors are not common. Coins that were stored early, never cleaned, not heavily circulated, kept in collections, those are different. Collectors pay premiums for uncirculated examples, brilliant surface, strong strike, sharp rim. Because heavy circulation years create condition rarity, and condition rarity creates demand. Here's where many people destroy value. They see dark toning, they assume dirt, they polish it. But dark toning is not always damage. Sometimes it's natural aging. Natural aging tells collectors the surface is original. Once cleaned, micro scratches appear, original luster disappears, collector confidence drops. Professional graders detect cleaning instantly, and clean coins lose premium potential. Remember this, original is always stronger than shiny. Collectors categorize coins by first year, last year, low mintage, high-grade survival. 1979 was not low mintage, but it was heavy circulation, and heavy circulation years create rare high-grade survivors. It's not about how many were made, it's about how many survived well. That's the difference between common and collectible. Imagine an auction room. A certified high-grade 1979 50p appears. Sharp strike, no cleaning, strong detail. Two collectors notice. Bidding begins slowly, controlled, strategic, because they understand survival rarity. Not hype, not noise, condition. That's where real money lives. Now, I want you to think, do you have a 1979 50p? If you do, is it heavily worn, or does it still have strength? Check the rim, check Britannia, check the portrait clarity, because small differences separate spare change from collector interest. 1969 was the beginning, 1979 was the survivor, but 1981 is where portrait transitions start to matter, and collectors pay attention to portrait eras more than most people realize, because sometimes a small change in design creates a completely different collector category, and that's what we're about to explore next.
Now we arrive at 1981. At first glance, it looks almost identical to the coins before it. Same size, same weight, same Britannia standing firm on the reverse, same denomination. But serious collectors don't just see a coin, they see an era. Because 1981 belongs to a specific portrait period of Queen Elizabeth II. And portrait transitions matter more than most people realize, not because they are loud, but because they divide history into chapters. The 1981 50p carries the second portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. This portrait was designed by Arnold Machen. It shows a slightly more mature depiction of the Queen. The hair detail changed, the crown detail changed, the facial profile changed subtly. To the average person, it's just a face. To collectors, it's a timeline marker. And when portrait styles eventually change again, older portrait versions become defined collector categories. That's how long-term demand quietly builds. Now take your 1981 coin and study it carefully. On the obverse, front, look at the crown. Are the jewel details sharp? Are the small lines visible? Or have they flattened into smooth metal? Now study the hair. In higher grades, you can see separation between strands. In worn examples, it becomes smooth. Check the lettering. Elizabeth II, DG Reg, FD. Are the letters crisp or soft around the edges? Collectors call this strike clarity. Now flip the coin. On the reverse, Britannia stands tall. Focus on the trident tips, the shield cross lines, the folds of the gown, the rim edge. If the rim is still strong and raised, that coin has survived well. If the rim is flat and blends into the surface, it has seen heavy circulation. Weight and metal context. Just like 1969 and 1979, the 1981 50p is still the large version, about 30 millimeters in diameter, roughly 13.5 grams, solid, wide, heavy in the hand. After 1997, this large format ended forever, which means all pre-1997 large 50p coins are now part of a closed production era. That matters long term. Here's something interesting. 1981 was not a first year, not a final year, not a commemorative. So why does it matter? Because condition survival in mid-era coins often drops dramatically. Why? Because people don't save mid-era coins. They save first years, they save last year's.
But mid-era coins like 1981 get used, abused, forgotten, which quietly reduces the number of high-grade survivors. Collectors understand this. That's why high-grade 1981 examples can surprise people in auctions, not because of hype, but because of preservation rarity. Warning, cleaning warning again. Let's say it again clearly. Do not clean your coin. The natural toning that develops over decades is not damage, it's part of the coin's life story. Polishing removes original surface texture. It leaves microlines. It kills luster. And professional graders see it instantly. A cleaned coin may look shiny, but to a collector, it looks damaged. Originality is king. Serious collectors track portrait eras, condition rarity, pre-1997 large format coins, long-term survival trends. They ask, how many exist in uncirculated condition today? How many were stored untouched? How many were lost to heavy use? They don't just count mintage numbers. They study survival. That's the hidden layer most people never think about. Imagine this. A graded MS level 1981 large 50p appears in auction. Strong strike, no cleaning, full luster. Two experienced collectors recognize the preservation level instantly. The room is quiet. Bidding starts controlled, not wild, strategic, because they understand what they're competing for. Not just a date, but a survivor. Now pause for a second. Do you have a 1981 50p? Is the rim still strong? Are the portrait lines visible? Or is it heavily worn? Compare it in your mind to the earlier years. You'll start noticing differences once you train your eye. And once you see detail, you can never unsee it. 1969 was the beginning. 1979 was the workhorse survivor. 1981 represents portrait era importance and mid-era survival rarity. But 1997 changes everything. Because 1997 was the end, the final year of the large 50 pence coin. And when something ends, collectors pay attention.
Take your 1997 large 50p. Hold it next to a modern 50p. Notice the size difference. Notice the weight difference. Feel the difference. On the reverse, Britannia stands strong one last time in the large format. Study the shield lines, the trident tips, the rim thickness. Now flip it. Look at the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. By 1997, this was still the second portrait era, but it was the end of large format circulation coins. Collectors call this end-of-era significance, and end-of-era coins often gain stronger long-term attention. Most 1997 large 50p coins were heavily circulated because nobody knew it was the final year at the time. People didn't save them. They used them, spent them, dropped them, which means high-grade survivors are fewer than people expect. And here's something important. In 1997, both large and small 50p coins were struck during transition. That makes 1997 a transition year. Collectors love transition years because they represent overlap, change, monetary evolution. Let's be honest, a worn 1997 large 50p is usually worth face value, but condition creates separation. Collectors look for strong rim edges, clear Britannia detail, no flattening on the portrait, no cleaning damage, natural surface. An uncirculated 1997 large 50p is far more desirable than a worn one because it represents the final year preserved. Say this clearly in your voiceover. Do not clean it. The moment you polish it, you remove originality. You create micro-scratches. You destroy surface texture. Collectors want natural aging. They want untouched history, not artificial shine. Collectors think long-term. They track first year of issue, 1969, heavy circulation survivors, 1979, portrait era coins, 1981, final year of large type, 1997. First year, last year. These two categories always carry emotional weight in collecting because they represent beginnings and endings, and human psychology values beginnings and endings more than the middle. That's why 1997 matters. Imagine a certified high-grade 1997 large 50p appears at auction. Label reads, "Final year of large format. Sharp strike, no cleaning, brilliant surface." Bidding starts slow, then increases, because serious collectors understand timeline importance. They're not buying metal, they're buying closure of an era. Now step back for a moment. 1969, the beginning. 1979, the workhorse survivor. 1981, the portrait era marker. 1997, the final chapter. Together, these four coins tell a complete story: the birth, the endurance, the era, the ending, and that narrative alone creates collector interest. Now I want you to check something. Do you have a 1997 large 50p? Is it worn flat, or does it still have strength? Compare it to a modern 50p. Feel the weight. Notice the history in your hand, because that size will never return. Coins are more than currency. They are time capsules. They carry economic shifts, political changes, design evolution, and survival stories. Most people never look twice. They spend, they forget, they ignore. But collectors look deeper. They study beginnings, they track endings, they respect originality. And now, you do too. Before you spend your next 50p coin, look at the year. Look at the size, look at the detail. Because sometimes value doesn't shout. Sometimes it whispers quietly in plain sight. If this deep breakdown opened your eyes, like the video, subscribe to USA Coins Craze, and comment below, which year do you have? 1969, 1979, 1981, or 1997? Because your spare change might deserve a second look.